My name is Mia, and I've been married to Daniel for 6 years. When we first got married, I was excited to build a life together. We both worked full-time, saved up, and eventually bought a small house. Things were good until his mother moved in. At first, I welcomed her. I thought maybe we could bond, share meals, and become family. But she made it clear from the start, I wasn't good enough for her son. She criticized everything I did, how I cooked, how I cleaned, even how I laughed. Still, I tried to be patient, hoping things would improve. It wasn't long before the comments turned cruel. She called me lazy because I worked from home. Real women get dressed and go to an office, she scoffed. She'd barge into my home office, complaining about noise or asking me to do chores while I was on client calls. My husband said, she's just old-fashioned, but I felt like I was being slowly erased in my own home. Every dinner became a battlefield. One night, she asked me straight to my face, "Who do you think is supporting this family?" I looked at her and calmly said, "I am." She burst out laughing like I had told the funniest joke in the world. "You?" she said, wiping her eyes. "You sit in front of a laptop and call that work?" I felt heat rise in my cheeks. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled and said, "Yes. Actually, I make more than Daniel. I've been paying most of the bills for over a year." The room fell quiet. My husband looked stunned, but said nothing. My mother-in-law's smile disappeared. "You're lying," she muttered. I walked out without another word. I had exposed a truth she couldn't handle, and it wouldn't stop there. The next morning, I found my laptop flipped closed, the charger unplugged, and my notes in the trash. I knew exactly who did it. "You need to stop playing pretend," she said when I confronted her. "You're embarrassing yourself." I told Daniel, and he brushed it off again. "She just doesn't understand remote jobs." I was tired of making excuses for her, so I started keeping records, photos, logs of the bills I paid, screenshots of my income reports. If this escalated, I wanted proof. My patience was gone. I didn't want to fight. I wanted to finish this, smartly. Then came the breaking point. I was on a video call with a high-paying client when my mother-in-law burst into the room yelling, "Turn that nonsense off and clean the bathroom." My client heard everything. I ended the call, shaking with anger and embarrassment. That night, I told Daniel, "It's her or me." He looked torn but said nothing. That silence hurt more than words. So, I gave myself a deadline. 1 week. If nothing changed, I'd leave. I loved Daniel, but I couldn't live like this. I was tired of being quiet, tired of being the only adult in the room. Surprisingly, Daniel came to me the next day and said, "Let's move out, just us." For a moment, I felt relief. But then his mother found out. She slammed dishes, cried loudly, and accused me of breaking their family apart. "He's my son," she shouted. "You just want to steal him." I said nothing. Daniel packed quietly while she followed him from room to room, guilt-tripping him like a child. The day we left, she stood at the door and hissed, "You'll regret this." I turned and said, "Only one of us will." Then we walked out. But I wasn't done. We moved into a small apartment across town. It wasn't fancy, but it was peaceful. I could finally breathe. I rebuilt my work setup, reached out to the client I had lost, and apologized. Surprisingly, he gave me another chance. My work thrived again. I even took on new contracts and expanded my services. Daniel started seeing the difference too. How calm I was. How much happier we both seemed without his mother's shadow over us. He finally said, "I didn't realize how toxic it had become." I just nodded. I already knew. But her parting words kept ringing in my head. A few months passed. I thought the worst was behind us. But one afternoon, Daniel got a call. His mother had slipped and hurt her leg. She needed help. "Should we let her move in temporarily?" he asked. I said no without hesitation. We can help her, but she's not living with us. He seemed surprised. It's just for a short time. I looked him in the eye. She pulled a knife on my career. She mocked my success. I won't go through that again. He was quiet. I could see the guilt in his face. Okay, he finally said. You're right. We agreed to visit her once a week and bring groceries. But on our first visit, she acted like nothing had happened. So, are you still pretending to work? She asked with a smirk. I smiled calmly. Yes, and I just landed a $50,000 contract yesterday. Her smirk faded. She blinked, then turned away. Daniel looked shocked. Really? He asked. Yes, I said, never breaking eye contact with her. I've been the one holding this family up for a long time. You just never noticed. She didn't say a word after that, but I knew she was listening, and so did he. That night, Daniel asked if I resented him. I told the truth. Sometimes I did. You didn't protect me. You let her treat me like I was worthless. He looked ashamed. I was scared to confront her. And I was scared to lose myself, I replied. He nodded slowly and said, I'll do better. For the first time, I believed him. He started helping more. Cooking, cleaning, even standing up to his mom when she made rude comments. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. I had drawn a line, and for once, someone actually respected it. That changed everything. Weeks passed, and my mother-in-law stayed mostly quiet during our visits. But one day, she surprised me. As I placed groceries on her counter, she said, You really do work, huh? I raised an eyebrow. Yes, I always have. She nodded slightly but didn't apologize. I didn't expect her to. For people like her, admitting they're wrong is like swallowing fire. But even that small nod felt like a tiny shift. Later in the car, Daniel said, That's the closest she'll ever come to saying sorry. I sighed and said, That's fine. I don't need her apology. I just need her out of my way. One evening, I received an invitation to speak at a women's business conference. It was a big moment for me. I got dressed up, stood in front of a crowd, and shared my story about working from home, dealing with judgment, and standing my ground. Daniel came with me and clapped louder than anyone. Afterward, he held my hand and said, I'm proud of you. I smiled. I'm proud of me, too. That night, for the first time in a long time, I didn't think about my mother-in-law. I thought about how far I had come, and how I got here by refusing to shrink. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. I opened it and found my mother-in-law standing there. Can we talk? She asked, fidgeting with her hands. I let her in. We sat at the table in silence until she finally said, I didn't know how much you were doing. I thought I was protecting Daniel, but maybe I was hurting him. It wasn't a full apology, but it was close. I nodded. We all make mistakes, but I won't let anyone make me small again, not even you. She looked at me, and for once, didn't argue. Just nodded. We're not best friends now. That would be unrealistic. But something changed after that talk. She stopped calling me lazy. She even asked about my work sometimes. It wasn't perfect, but it was civil. Daniel noticed too. I think she's trying, he said. A little, I replied. He smiled. She still doesn't fully get it, though. I shrugged. She doesn't have to. She just has to stay out of my way. We both laughed. Our apartment felt like home again, filled with laughter, not tension. And more importantly, filled with respect. I didn't just win my freedom. I earned it. About a year later, Daniel and I bought a new home. Just the two of us. No shared walls, no judgmental eyes, no interruptions. I set up a beautiful home office with plants and sunlight. On the wall, I framed the invitation from the conference where I spoke, a symbol of everything I overcame. Sometimes I sit at my desk, sip my coffee, and smile. I remember the woman who once laughed at me and how I proved her wrong, not with yelling or revenge, but with quiet, powerful success. I became the backbone she never believed I could be. Now, when people ask what I do, I proudly say, I run my own business from home. I've learned that some people will always judge what they don't understand, but that's not my problem. My mother-in-law once laughed at me when I told her I was the one supporting the family. Today, she doesn't laugh anymore, because the truth has a way of showing itself, louder than any insult, stronger than any doubt. My name is Mia. I was disrespected, dismissed, and underestimated. But I never stopped building. And now I stand tall, because I didn't just support the family. I held it together.